to the show, welcome to the show. Here to give you knowledge that you didn't know. Put you on some game, now you got a buzz. You are now listening to Cannabruhz.
Welcome back.
Hey, what's up?
Corey, how you feeling, man?
Man, I feel amazing. How about yourself?
I'm good, brother. And welcome back to everybody else that is back with us once again.
One more again.
Back with us one more again for another episode of your favorite new podcast. My name is Jarrell.
My name is Corey.
And we are the Cannabruhz. Well, you know what we doing, man. We going over anything related in the cannaverse, cannabis news. We're gonna cover a little bit of cannabis law, and you already know how these segments go. So we're gonna break it down for you just like this. Corey?
All right, so first we're gonna start you off with Word on the Street. So Word on the Street is some of the new, latest and greatest information that's come out in the cannabis world, the cannaverse, as Jarrell said. So we're gonna bring it to you. We're gonna talk about it. You're gonna get our take on it. We'd love to hear your take on it in the comments. The next one is Put You on Game. So our job on Put You on Game is to help you save you some money, right? So we're gonna put you on game to some of the new tax law, accounting, finance, anything that can help you save money and put more green back in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right. The next one is Plug Talk. Hey, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug your business. So we're going to throw your business up there. We're going to show your business anything that you, everything that you have to offer. So products, services, anything like that is related to the cannabis industry.
So let's go ahead and kick it off with our first segment of the day, which is Word on the Street. All right, Corey, what you got today, man?
All right, so breaking news today. So we had the majority House leader. I think that's his title. If I said his title wrong, forgive me. But Senator Schumer came on live today, and along with two other senators, Senator Cory Booker and then another senator from Oregon, I believe, or Colorado. They came on talking about the Cannabis Administration's and Opportunity Act. So this act that they're wanting to implement is a complete game changer. Does a complete 180 for current cannabis tax law, current cannabis law in general, making it legal. Like it's crazy. It's crazy, man. I'm excited to get into this with you, Jarrell, and see your take on things. Yeah, man. What you think so far?
Yo, that's crazy, man. Like, so crazy thing is you sent me the clip on a Facebook link or whatever, and I clicked on it, man, and I was moving around, kind of taking care of some stuff, and I literally just played it like in my ear, and I'm sitting here listening, man. The craziest thing is a couple things that stuck out to me, and we're gonna kind of deep dive into it, but there's a couple things that stuck out to me. The first thing was just the fact that they were even talking about decriminalization, and then there was a headline that had legalization in it, and breaking news, man. Look, man, my toes started to tickle a little. My toes started to tinkle a little bit, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
That pinky toe jumping.
That pinky toe was jumping. The pinky toe was jumping. No, seriously though, man. Just the fact that that's a conversation right now, you can tell by how serious the conversation is at this point that we do not have long. And I'm not talking about just on the state level. We're also talking about, most importantly, the federal level. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. That stuck out to me. The other thing is that, to be honest, and we're not going to go too far into politics. That's not what we do on the Cannabruhz, to be exact. But I will say I have noticed that at times, as a Black man in America, that it seems like we're avoiding the truth about like the actual system that doesn't necessarily work in our favor, right? And it seemed as though they really were speaking to the injustice, right? And actually trying to give opportunity to people. You know, it seemed like, okay, man, I love legislation that I hear about that's about people and all people, not we the people, like not the way it's written, because we know that's not talking about all the people, right? Because that's the same document that had the 3/5, you know, that whole situation in there, right? So, what's that?
So yeah, the 3/5 a person.
Right, that 3/5 of, come on, man. So, anyways, I'm just saying that we appreciate the fact that it was acknowledged that this wasn't just legislation that was passed because, oh, we're gonna make some money or we're gonna allow this to happen. What would you say about the truth behind the injustice that has happened and the reason they've been targeting cannabis and cannabis specifically?
Well, to go off one of your earlier points real quick, I think they're trying to right the wrongs of the past, right? So they're trying to right the wrongs of the war on drugs, because the war on drugs hasn't been effective. Is actually destroyed many communities, specifically the black and brown communities, and the low income communities. So going off of what they said in the YouTube video, I think that this is a great step towards the right direction of righting all the wrongs and trying to heal some of the wound or many of the wounds created from the war on drugs. Now, I have some more opinions on it, but what I would like to do real quick, or not real quick, but what I would like to do is go ahead and pull up the act that they were discussing today and dive a little bit deeper into it.
Right, right. Let's do it, man. Yeah, like I said, man, that's it's just crazy. I think that hey, man, it's crazy that we're finally there. You know, we're finally to that point where this is this real conversation. You know,
right.
Let's go ahead and get into it.
Go ahead. Can you see it?
Yeah, I definitely can. Everybody's
cool.
good.
So the senator that I left out earlier was Senator Ron Wyden. Mm-hmm. So shout out to him as well for being a part of this. So Nate, let's go ahead and hop into it, man. The Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. So as we go into the discussion draft, I think that first sentence is powerful.
Straight up.
A war on drugs has been a war on people, particularly people of color.
Yep. That's just
I want to say that one more time. The war on drugs has been a war on people, particularly people of color.
Yep.
And this is why we're constantly pushing more black faces. And I want to amend that. I want to say more black and brown faces and green spaces.
For sure.
Because people of color have been unfairly targeted in this war of drugs or war on drugs. And yet, when you look at the landscape of the cannabis industry, you don't see many people of color in the higher positions, right? In the positions of power, I would say the cannabis business owners, the people working for the cannabis businesses, the people that are investing in the cannabis businesses, so on and so forth, right? You're not seeing many people of color in those spaces.
Yeah.
But yet the majority of people that are locked up in the prisons for the green that we're looking to legalize, the green that's making green for the businesses, the majority of those people that are in the prisons are people of color.
Fact.
And so I said all that to say I think that first sentence is powerful, and it's definitely a step in the right direction.
For sure, most definitely.
All right, so let's keep on pushing, keep on pushing. So, this paragraph right here, amazing.
So by
Amazing.
ending the failed federal prohibition of cannabis, the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act will ensure that Americans, especially Black and Brown Americans, no longer have to fear arrest or be barred from public housing or federal financial aid for higher education for using cannabis in states where it's legal. What I mean just makes sense, right?
Right,
State
right.
compliant cannabis businesses will finally be treated like other businesses and allow access to essential financial services like bank accounts and
Yep.
loans. And I love medical research will no longer be stifled. But no, real talk, that bank accounts and loans. So this is, I mean, for anybody that's looking to get into, you know, or you're early entrepreneur, you're probably wondering, okay, where can I get like money from? You know, this is it's a very expensive thing. If you know anything about agriculture alone, or even if you're just, you know, I'm thinking of opening a dispensary or whatever like that on the ground. Like you have to realize that cannabis business owners and cannabis businesses cannot actually they're not allowed or afforded the opportunity to apply for certain loans or have certain bank accounts because the big banks haven't accepted that due to federal law. Like, so you're literally unable to get funds for something that you know is an expensive investment, right? And you've been taught this entire time that if you know how business work, maybe you learn how to be a business person first, and then you got into cannabis, assuming. But if it's that way, then you know that you're going to need some back end, and now you don't have nowhere to go. You can't think of a place. You can't just quick Google, you know, bank loans near me. Like, good luck if you're in the cannabis industry. So this is speaking directly to that, and this act is to get rid of that. And of course, the obvious one is no longer fearing arrest or barring from public housing or federal financial aid for higher education for cannabis use. Like I know someone where that was in effect, and that's really tough, man. I mean, it was a real war. You could see they were playing dirty. They're not letting your kids get educated, and I can't say for making silly mistakes or anything, because it's not a mistake for loving cannabis and knowing that it has a good effect on you and it helps you as a person. Like that's not a I'm talking about man to man, human to human. That shouldn't be a crime, you know, where now you are not allowed to get your education and you're not even fully developed just as a person. Like you're talking about 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids fresh out of high school have running into these issues. And not only the Black and brown, but that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
And I mean, in general, it applies to Black, brown, and predominantly lower income areas.
Correct.
That are constantly being discriminated against. You know, you get pulled over. I smell something in your car. You got any reefer in there?
Yeah.
That's my best.
Hey, it still sounds as corny when they pull you over too. Sound just like that.
Why don't you step out the car and take a sip? Let me take a quick look in there. But real quick, so another big thing in this paragraph that I saw was the medical research will no longer be stifled.
Word. That's what's up.
This is for all the medical marijuana advocates. You know, the fact that the U.S. isn't researching cannabis in the medical community is crazy to me. It's baffling because it's proven already that CBD has some healing effects for certain ailments, such as people with epilepsy, stage 4 cancer patients, and so on and so forth, right? So imagine if we went full force into really researching the benefits of, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this word again, cannabiol, I can't say the word. I can't say the word.
Cannabinoids.
No. It's cannabiol. I think it's cannabiol.
That's the word you're trying to say?
Yeah. But yeah, and I struggle with that.
Hey, when you see that, get him right here.
but the benefits of all the cannabinoids from the THC and the CBD and from cannabis in general, like we can finally make so many revolutionary strides in that area to help benefit millions and millions of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, man. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And the big thing is, for me, it just makes me feel like, so we haven't had all the options. You know, I've had multiple family members die from cancer. So when you say there's people that have been healed, which I've heard as well, right? I'm just saying that because now it's, we had the internet era. We know when things happen, even if it's outside of the country. We know that there's some people that have potentially been healed, credited to somewhat credited to cannabis, right? And like I said, I've lost a few members of my family to cancer, and you telling me we didn't really have all the options available, right? That's tough right there. You know, like I get it. I'm one of those guys that's just like, hey, fate, destiny, God's plan, all that. But I'm just saying that has nothing to do with the medical side of the things, right? So we put our trust into our doctors, right, and our medical professionals to offer us the best options because it's people we don't know, right? So we're not quite sure. Shout out to all the great doctors out there, right? But yeah, they're not taught that, right? Because it's not legal, because that's an agenda by, who has their way in the country, right? And so literally you're like, man, that sucks because they started from the top. So our doctors that are coming up, my daughter's like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Great. So you're telling me she doesn't get taught in med school about this other option, right? So that when she's looking, she, graduates, gets her own practice or, works somewhere or whatever, and she begins to treat patients. No, I'm sorry, begin to treat people. When she begins to treat people, she's not actually giving them all the options, and whether that's her fault or not, and I'm sure at that point she probably understands, but she's not able to do that. Then you got to tie that in with big pharma on the back end of that, right? Because most people are going to require some kind of medication,
right?
And we're just throwing that out the window. Like that's not a possibility. I don't know, man. I just don't feel like that's fair. It's like, what, I understand the country's law, like I get it, but what about human law? What about human policy? Like I'm not even trying to be religious with it, but I just mean, what about just human, like, decency, looking to extend and prolong life, right? Looking to protect life, right? I'm just saying. I know we got to go. I know we got to get on with it, but that's just how I feel, man. I had to let y'all know, man. That's how I feel.
Another big measure in this act is this next paragraph, right?
Yeah.
Bill automatically expunges federal nonviolent marijuana crimes and allows an individual currently serving time in federal prison for nonviolent marijuana crimes to petition a court for resentencing.
Mm.
In addition to that, the legislation also creates an opportunity trust fund funded by federal cannabis tax revenue to reinvest into the communities most impacted by the failed war on drugs.
Come on.
As well as helping level the playing field for entrepreneurs of color who continue to face barriers of access to the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
No, finish that off. You right at the end.
Importantly,
yeah,
the legislation also ends discrimination in the federal public benefits for medical marijuana patients and adult use consumers.
Straight up.
I think that's huge.
Whoa.
I think that's gonna greatly positively impact the Black and Brown communities, as well as just the low income communities in general. The thing that really gets me is the sentence that says the bill automatically expunges federal nonviolent marijuana crimes and allows an individual currently serving time in federal prison for nonviolent marijuana crimes to petition a court for resentencing. So I think the expunging is huge, right? It's huge because a lot of people, it's a one-time offense, right?
Right.
Again, let's think of Sha'Carri Richardson, right? Now, I'm not going to say she wasn't caught smoking it and she wasn't criminalized for that, but imagine, so if you have someone pass in your family and this is the one time he's like, I need an escape. And that one time is the one time you get caught. I mean, that's extreme bad luck, but it happens, right?
Yeah.
You get caught for that, and now you have completely altered your future because of that one time of indulging, right?
Right.
To be able to have that experience and continue to live a normal life, to continue to have the trajectory that you're on, assuming it's a positive, beneficial trajectory, continue versus having it diverted to now you're limited in what you can do in life because of having this on your record. So that's one thing that's huge. But the next thing is, I don't think that's fair for people that are locked up, man. I think if you're going to expunge the nonviolent offenses, I think that the people that are locked up should automatically be released.
I rock with that.
Like,
I definitely rock with that because you're thinking, okay, expunge. Why is this a full process? Now it's not like prison's the most safe place to be. Now I got to be here even longer, right? Like you don't know what's going on in the, you know what I'm saying? Like the prison politics and all that other stuff. You don't know what's going on inside of there. What if that's the day where my life may be potentially ended? Right. So then at that point, now we're at a point where nobody wants to be. There's a family without a loved one, and then you got a lawsuit on your hands, right? So that could have all been avoided. You know, it's just like, that's rough, man. And it's not something I want to literally predict, but sounds about right. So it's like, you're right. Why not just literally, hey, take that jumpsuit off. Let's go ahead and line them up. They ain't even gonna eat. They're not even eating chow tonight. Like, yeah, let's go. Get them out of here. They don't deserve to be here, man. They ain't here with, and in certain levels, they here with killers, right? And they here with people that probably really should have been mentally rehabilitated, but are in prison as well. They're in there with those people.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying that's tough, right?
Right. So of course there should be there's gonna have to be some type of regulation there saying that under a certain amount, right? So if you got caught with moving kilos, I mean, okay.
Well, I don't think it should.
So maybe a reduced sentence. Because
and maybe possibly a time served situation, especially if you've done enough. I'm just saying, like, because if other person should have never been there, and they're going to look to probably give them money back. You know, people do, like if they're falsely imprisoned or something like that, then they do.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, like in other situations.
Right.
You get falsely imprisoned for something, you know, you could potentially get some money back for what they assumed you would have earned per year or things like that, and with some icing on the cake. So I'm not necessarily, like, I get what you're saying. You're not saying that they should just be let out, but if the people that are let out going to be let out, record expunged, and maybe a payoff, and the people that were and yes, they knew they were doing something illegal, so I get that part. So the accountability factor, but yeah, their cases now, their cases should be petitioned to the court for resentencing.
I agree. I think that's fair.
Right?
100% fair.
Just saying, because you wouldn't have judged them that hard.
Right.
Like, if the whole goalpost move, you get what I'm saying? Like, so just saying.
Now, one thing that I do want to mention in everything that we're speaking about is all of this is federal, right?
Right.
So when I say all this is federal, none of this is applying to the states, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we scroll down. So if it's legalized, or if it's what's the terminology? If it's decriminalized federally and removed off of the Schedule 1, let's say it's just taken off completely, right? The state that you're in still has to legalize it. So if the state that you're in, let's say you're in Texas, and you have, and if there hasn't been a decriminalization bill passed, and you're caught with, I'm going to say 4 ounces of marijuana, even though federally it's been removed, you're still subject to that state's what's the word I'm looking for? That state's judiciary process.
Right.
So that and that's the thing. Because one big thing that they talked about is the states maintaining the states' rights.
Right.
So don't think that just because federally, if this bill passes in the future, that you can just go anywhere and smoke and live your best life.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, and we'll talk about it when we get into the tax rates and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you just can assume you'll be treating marijuana, cannabis in general, like you treat alcohol. You know that you can't just go to pick your kids up and be like drinking a 40 ounce. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that. So don't expect to be able to be like, yo, I'm about to dump out a Cuban, fill that bad boy up, right? And chill right in front of the police station, laughing and kikiing it up. You know what I mean?
Up and F the police.
Yeah, blowing smoke. What's good? Just wanted to say what's up, Officer Johnson. Wanted to know how you was doing today. Hope you as stress-free as I am, Officer Johnson. But yeah, man, you would treat it essentially like you treat alcohol or pretty close to it. That's how I assume the federally it'll be treated. But also, like Corey mentioned, just doubling back, this still is a state versus federal issue. If you don't believe us, ask the people in the states where it's already legalized, because there's certain things they can't do. You know, a big issue is, people are like, well, you can't move it, right? So normally business is done over state lines. This is something that is a concern of both sides. The people that are anti, the people that are pro. This is a concern, a very touchy subject within the matter that they're trying to address and come to some kind of common ground to be able to sign off or vote on. Yeah, straight up, man. Yeah, but this is pretty dope. I'm just literally going down. Yes, while the sponsoring offices will accept comments at any time, they encourage stakeholders to submit comments in writing by September 1st of this year, 2021, in order to ensure time for offices to consider comments before introducing a final legislative draft. Comments may be submitted to cannabis_reform at finance.senate.gov. Now, Corey, break that down one more time. Break that down one more time so they understand what that means, because that's huge right there.
So this is the opportunity for the people to address their concerns with the sponsoring offices. So they're saying, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your opinions, your thoughts, your comments. And here's the deadline that we're willing to accept comments. So again, cannabis_reform at finance.senate.gov.
One more time.
Cannabis_reform at finance.senate.gov.
Don't complain if you didn't put in. That's all we saying. Say something. Say something. Come on, man.
All right. We're going to go ahead and kick it off. As we dive in, we're going to go ahead and start with the decriminalization of cannabis.
Yep.
First thing that we see here, which is I find is funny.
What's that?
That how they have cannabis listed. So of course, a lot of people use cannabis and marijuana interchangeably.
Right.
Cannabis is the species, but marijuana has an H in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
From back in the day. So how we've seen it is, Mary with a J, wanna. Now this is like marijuana.
Marijuana.
Marijuana, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess
great Spanish pronunciation on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, we got to do things differently. So, the background is already breaking down that cannabis is a Schedule I drug, and it's breaking down THC and hemp versus marijuana. So the proposal is that cannabis / marijuana removed from the Controlled Substance Act.
Why is that, Corey? And I know. Let's talk about that. Why is that important? Like, for people that just don't quite understand, like, how, like, the different schedule of drugs, like how the seriousness of it. Like, why is that a thing? Why do we care?
Well, it's huge because Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 drugs on the tax law side, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're subject to 280E. And so what 280E says, you can't write off any expenses for businesses that are directly related to Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 drugs.
Right.
So that right there is huge because businesses currently in the cannabis space, whenever they have to file their taxes, a large percentage of their gross income or the revenue that they make is taxed very highly compared to your ordinary non-cannabis business.
Right.
So while one business might, and the example I like to use is business A is an ice cream business, and business B is a dispensary, a cannabis dispensary.
Mm-hmm.
While cannabis A might be able to write off $40,000 in expenses,
mm-hmm.
which makes their adjusted income their adjusted gross income $60,000. And then that's what they're going to go off of the taxes of and everything. The business B, the dispensary, that same 100,000, even though they had 40,000 in expenses that the normal business can write off, they can't write it off. So they're being taxed on that 100,000. So you can already see the disadvantage of being in the cannabis space, right? You're bleeding money fast. It's a cut that the blood never clots. It's like you're constantly bleeding, and you're trying to produce more blood than blood loss.
Right. Straight up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That does make it much tougher. And I kind of hinted at it before, but they keep bringing it up, like breaking up alcohol. You got to realize when it comes to alcohol, that's the only thing where one side can argue this is dangerous for you as a person, like physically, it's dangerous for your body. And where the other side can argue, yeah, but we can regulate that, right? So like the biggest argument prior to now, I think this is, man, trust me, this breaking news that we got on this legislation, right, is going to be the huge news. This is going to be the new most current bulletin that everybody's going to remember in time. It's a historical day because this is when it's introduced. Like we don't know, like when you look at documentaries in the future, that this is that point when things start changing, right? Because now it's not behind the scenes, closed door type of conversations. Now we're having pressers where we're talking about this in front of the American public for a sense of accountability. That's literally what this is about. And if it passes, we have a good starting point. But that's just really it. It's going to be judged just like alcohol, and you can kind of look at it in that way. The issue prior to this has been the fact that they haven't been able to regulate. So it's hard to say when a person takes one puff or 5 puffs, for instance, that they can't regulate how high that person is, right? So that's been the big news prior to this, is that, hey, if we can figure out regulation, right? So they can regulate age, okay, cool, but they can't actually they couldn't regulate like chemically, like they just couldn't figure that part out, right? And that's just the point where there's not enough medical research being done, right? If you, once again, just going back to it, if you allow the medical research, if you allow the talented scientists to get in there and really dissect what's going on with this thing legally, right, and have more access to cannabis as a whole, this could be figured out. You don't need one little single research team. You need more than that. You don't know where the next great thought from the great mind may lay.
All right, so as we dive into the different programs that this act is going to offer for the community that it was impacted the most by the war on drugs, so the black and brown low income communities.
Say that thing. Say it.
It's it's 3 programs in total that will greatly positively impact those communities. So you got Section 301. Mm-hmm. So it creates 2 programs to be implemented by the Small Business Administration.
Right.
So you got the Cannabis Opportunity Program. Mm-hmm. So this provides funding to eligible states to make business loans. To make loans to assisted small businesses in the cannabis industry owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, right?
Right.
So as we talked about before, right now the amount of capital you have to get into the cannabis space is extremely high. You got to have investors upon investors upon investors,
deep pockets,
venture capitalists, so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
With it being legalized, now you have access to banks, right?
Right.
And now it gives more access for black and brown faces to enter the green spaces, right? It gives us more assets to help us penetrate the barrier that's been holding us back.
Yeah, that's gonna be so needed, man. That's gonna be so needed because you see here in this section, it's talking about job training, reentry services, legal aid. Which kind of makes you think, right? If everything opens up, it's kind of like in the Wild Wild West, somebody got to sell guns, right? Somebody got to know where to get the supplies from. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. Like, if we're going to open this up and now we got these new opportunities and all this other stuff, we need to atone for the past, but then we also need to be structured and prepared for the future so that there's no atoning to be had further down the line, right? So we got to remember that that's how you take care of your responsibilities, right? Like, we learn that as people. So the government and the country as a whole is going to have to make sure there are things in place so that life can be just as safe, if not safer, right? Like, we don't want to take this drastic turn, like all of a sudden the purge is commenced or whatever. Like, we literally need things set up. We need organizations. We need grants, programs, things like that, so that you eliminate desperation, acts of desperation, so that you eliminate instability and inconsistency with the suppliers and the people that are looking to move the movement beyond legalization. So,
and the program that you were just talking about was the Community Reinvestment Grant Program.
okay.
That's the program that will fund the nonprofits to help for job training, reentry services, legal aid, and among other services.
What was that again? The
Community Reinvestment Grant Program.
right.
And the program that I was talking about was the Cannabis Opportunity Program.
Okay, right.
And then there's another program called the Equitable Licensing Grant Program, which will provide funding to eligible states and localities to implement cannabis licensing programs that minimize barriers for individuals adversely affected by the war on drugs.
Mm.
Now, I'm curious.
Yeah.
How do you prove that you've been affected by the war on drugs?
I'm black.
And you see me, right?
You see me, right?
You know I've been affected by the war on drugs.
Well, here's the unfortunate thing. Man. I'm sorry, because I'm about to get into it. I gotta take a sip. Here's the unfortunate thing, and I'm not victimizing this whole situation, but it's enough of us out there, black and brown people, that actually have someone directly linked to them that have had to go through incarceration and things like that. And when you take one element out of a function, right? So when you take that person out of the family, that does something to the family, right? And that's just what it is. We all hold each other together. So if you remove one piece, now there's stress put on at least pieces to that family, right? You remove somebody that has a purpose in a family, and family is everything.
Right.
Family is everything. The reason that is a commonly used phrase or whatnot is because, like, how organisms work. It just has to be different pieces that are together. You know how car engines work. Like, you get what I'm saying? You have to account for that part. And like I said, there's enough of us that have had a brother, a sister, an uncle, an aunt, and unfortunately a parent, grandparent who were incarcerated and taken from the family, and now you're letting them out. So what happens to that family? How can we atone for the issues that family has gone through? So I think, honestly, that's very vague, Corey, but it's very, very easy to kind of,
And as you were saying that, they're probably just going to say it's just going to be a minority grant. They have minority grants, right? So I'm thinking that's how that would operate. Just saying, if you're a minority, then you qualify.
Simple enough. That should be simple enough, to be honest.
Right. So they got another grant that they're renaming. So previously the grant called the Comprehensive Opioid Abuse Grant Program is now going to be called the Comprehensive Opioid Stimulant and Substance Abuse Program. So it says it amends the relevant sections of the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act to make grants available to states and localities to address substance abuse generally rather than just opioid abuse, which I think that's powerful as well. I don't think cannabis is an addictive drug like opioids.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same
But
as opioids.
what I think is when you have people that are using cannabis and it's taking away from them living their regular life. So meaning like they're not going to work because they're just high. Like they're just constantly high. Like they're not going to work, period, or they're not getting up to bathe. They're not regular functions that you and I do on a regular basis. When that's all they do is smoke, then those are in my opinion, that's the substance abuse part, right? You're not using it recreationally, you're not using it medically, you're just using it.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'm with you on just the fact. I think if my issue with what you're saying was just mainly in the definition, like when the breakdown of it all,
Yeah.
because I don't think that's necessarily. I don't think it's not recreational to use it in that way, and I also don't believe that that would be like qualified as abuse. Now, here's the truth of the matter:
Okay.
you can abuse everything.
Yeah, of course.
I can abuse. Yeah, you ain't even got to legalize cannabis.
Okay.
I can abuse anything.
Right.
I can abuse because abuse is a behavior, right? It's an issue. It's some kind of behavioral issue, right? It's the way you're doing it. Yes, an addiction and abuse are not the same thing. I'm talking abuse. Abuse is behavioral, and yeah, I can abuse anything. I can abuse the PS4, bro. I could just the PS5, right? I can just play the game so much it's taken away from life. Right? Because you talk about abuse and addiction going, kind of hand in hand. But go ahead.
Go ahead, continue.
No, go ahead.
Well, but there are people that do abuse it and they have to go get help for that.
Right. That's why I was getting to that point. Look, like I do agree that everybody should have a place to turn. And like if you have that problem, you should have a place to turn. You shouldn't be turned away because you're talking about the scary subject, right? Like, like it's 2021, so it's so different now. But like years ago, you couldn't even really say weed or cannabis out loud. You couldn't say weed in the job place. You couldn't say cannabis or marijuana or any other that just hinting to, anything about cannabis, right? Like you had to like you had that green. You couldn't say anything. So we know that it's more, prevalent in society now, and that's just what it is. And I agree. If you abuse anything, you should have a place where you can go to get some help. I just don't. The only part that's a little, blurry for me is who decides that you need to get some help. But that's bigger than the cannabis industry. That's bigger than the comprehensive opioid stimulant and substance abuse program. Like that's bigger than that. That's just for kind of anything. But if you need some help, you should have a place to go. That I think we agree on. That if you need help, you should have a place to go, and you shouldn't be turned away for what you're abusing. And it's just that simple.
So let us know what y'all think in the comments on that topic right there.
Straight up, drop them comments below.
If you agree with me, or if you agree with Jarrell, or disagree with both of us, just go ahead and let us know.
Yeah. If you're on the visual, of course.
All right, and then lastly, they're renaming or amending the Social Business Act, the Small Business Investment Act, to explicitly make SBA programs and services available to cannabis-related legitimate businesses and service providers. So, yep,
Let's
yep,
go. You know,
yep.
we always talking everything business related. There will be no podcast without small business, right? So
Nope.
straight up at its core, right? So that is huge. And so what does this entail? Like, how does this help cannabis business owners?
So they can access the SBA. I mean, so like because it's been federally illegal for the longest time. Again, as we talked about, for loans, any type of grants, you weren't able to access any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have access to all those services, and that helps out socially and economically to those disadvantaged businesses.
Straight
So
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's huge for all small businesses in general, the small
Yeah.
businesses in general.
Yeah. SBA they're extremely helpful too. We had our little brief time getting some assistance from the SBA
Yep.
for our small business. So yeah, man, it is definitely useful for anybody that is looking to uh, become a business owner for the first time, and you're doing that, in the cannabis realm. So check out, make sure you pay attention or get something from the SBA. They got a lot to offer. They're always in different platforms and stuff like that. You can find the SBA easily. Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into the resentencing and expungement.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so this is a big topic of discussion right there. So I'm just gonna read the first. I'm gonna read the first two paragraphs real quick, just so you have a general idea.
All right. All right.
Under this section, within 1 year of enactment, each federal district shall expunge any arrests and convictions, as well as adjudications of juvenile delinquency for a non-violent federal cannabis offense.
Mm-hmm.
Each individual is to be notified by the federal district of their expungement. After the date of enactment, any individual with a prior conviction or adjudication of juvenile delinquency for a nonviolent federal cannabis offense who was not under a criminal justice sentence may file a motion for expungement.
Mm.
Courts shall also seal all records related to a conviction of adjudication of juvenile delinquency that has been expunged, which is amazing. So there's
Right.
no
Right.
going back and open up your folder saying like, hey, and when you were 16, it looks like you were arrested for possession of cannabis when it was illegal.
Sponge.
So, in addition, the section allows any individual who's under a criminal justice sentence for a non-violent federal cannabis offense to obtain a sentencing review hearing.
Okay.
After the sentencing hearing, courts shall expunge each arrest, conviction, or adjudication of juvenile delinquency for a non-violent federal cannabis offense, vacate the existing sentence or disposition of juvenile delinquency, and seal all records again relating to the conviction or adjudication that has been expunged.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So that's huge. Like, because then there's clearly targeting the juvenile justice system, like because that's just what it is, man. Like, you know, of course, there's adults that use cannabis, but as we know, for a lot of people, they got their journey with cannabis started, in their teenage years and whatnot.
Right.
So you got to remember, like these kids have been busted, have caught charges and all kind of stuff for possession, and how those charges can really snowball. You're in the wrong place, with the cannabis, so it's not as simple. Some other crime may have happened, and they kind of add on, or fluff up those charges. and then all of a sudden this kid is, his life is ruined. All that potential and all that other stuff is just, it's ruined, man, because of a non-violent. And I love the fact that they keep going back to that. Like, we shouldn't be throwing people in jail for non-violent offenses at the rate that we're doing it. Like, it's crazy. Like, this is non-violent. I'm not harming another human, right? Like, you're literally putting me, my sentence is to potentially be in the way of harm, in harm's way, right? Because of me not harming another person. That just seems like, that just doesn't seem fair.
Right.
Fair, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Another provision that I think is huge, is a big game changer, is that the veterans, so the people that go to the VA, the Veteran Affairs, and the Indian Health Services healthcare workers.
Okay.
So previously, or currently, I shouldn't even say previously, currently,
right.
They don't have access to any type of medical marijuana, any type of options to help relieve the symptoms that they're having from either injury, from going to combat, from overwork, overuse. They don't have that option, from PTSD. I mean, so many veterans, so many of my buddies, so many people have talked about, hey, I don't like taking pills. I don't want to take pills because all the side effects that come with the pills, but whenever I utilize hemp, whenever I utilize CBD, or if I just smoke a joint, it calms me, and it makes me feel so much better. They've said that they much prefer that. And I know there's been a big push in trying to get PTSD included for people that are eligible to use medical marijuana, and it's never made it onto the ballot. It's never made it where they can use it. So I think once if this bill or this act passes, now they have the opportunity to be told about, or be given the chance to utilize alternative methods, instead of, hey, here's a prescription of Advil and hydrocodone and all these other drugs. No, here's a natural medicinal substance that can help calm you without the side effects.
Yeah. Century-old tale. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, and I'm not gonna get off topic too much, but that's in sports too. Like it. We talked about Sha'Carri Richardson before on the podcast, but that's just in sports too, man. Like, you got to think, they have these major injuries, these head traumas and all this other stuff like that. And these people aren't able to choose, once again, all of the options that are out there, because the law is in the way of me medically healing. Like, that should never be a thing.
Traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah. It's all kind of stuff, man. Like you said, man, the soldiers that are out there in combat, like, think what they're going through, man. And the fact that they're just like, I know of something, but I can't do it because, I'm law abiding or whatever, that's tough, man.
Right.
Great.
Another thing that's interesting, right? So this is talking about the taxation now of cannabis, right?
Yep.
Did you want to go ahead and cover this piece?
Yeah, man. Talk about it. So, whenever taxes come in, we tax guys for a while, tax guys only. So we big on that. So here it goes. Under present law, alcohol and tobacco products are subject to federal I never get this right. They're subject to federal excise taxes as well as state taxes. while cannabis businesses are subject to federal income taxes, including a limitation on deductions and credits under IRC 2280E and certain state taxes, cannabis products are not subject to any federal excise tax. Federal alcohol and tobacco taxes apply differently depending on the type of product. Some products are taxed based on volume, i.e., pounds, gallons, or number of cigarettes, while other taxes are based on potency, i.e., alcohol by volume, and others are based on a percentage of price. For example, certain cigarettes are taxed at roughly 50% of their sales price. The table below, and they go into some other kind of stuff, and I'm not going to go into because I know some people just listening.
Right.
But yeah. So once again, there's a difference. Corey kind of talked about this previously, that there's a difference. And when you use your example of the two businesses, cannabis and non-cannabis, how there are people taxed at different rates. Then of course you also always have to consider that the state level and federal level taxes are always different based on different things. We talked about a little bit of the potency issue before, but that was the reason behind the regulation issue with legalizing and decriminalizing marijuana and cannabis. So yeah, the taxing on this has to be addressed, and I'm glad they're bringing it up and pointing it out.
And to break that down a little bit in layman's terms, because it has a lot of legal jargon. That legal jargon put you to sleep, man.
Snoozing. Snoozing like you just finished a full J.
So basically, what that was just saying is that cannabis products have not been taxed they have not been taxed federal excise tax. You got me stuttering on that.
Yeah.
Cannabis products have not been subject to any federal excise tax, primarily because they've been hit hard with 280E. So what they're saying is, if 280E is removed, right, now they're going to add that federal excise tax, and most of when it based off of alcohol and tobacco, they're typically taxed roughly at a 50% of their sales price.
Right.
They're gonna change that for the cannabis side.
Right. Yes, just skipping that, but just know there's a breakdown. So for everybody that's watching the Cannabruhz podcast on YouTube, or literally just watching video of this, you can kind of see as he scrolls through the table. For everybody else, just definitely understand that there's different levels to this, right? So if you just remove 280E in its existence, then we're talking about making things much simpler when it comes to taxes for everybody.
Right. And so here's the proposal, or this is what the act is proposing for cannabis products, right?
Okay.
So ultimately, the general rate for cannabis would be 10% for the year of enactment, and then it'll increase after the first full calendar year. So it'll go from 10%, and then the next year it'll increase to 15%, then the next year 20%, and it'll cap at 25% in the following years. And they're adding that in order to remove barriers of entry, small cannabis producers with less than $20 million in sales would be eligible for a 50% reduction in their tax rate via a tax credit.
Repeat that one more time, because this is one of my favorite things about this breaking news.
So in order to remove barriers to entry,
right,
small cannabis producers with less than 20 million in sales annually be eligible for a 50% reduction in their tax rate via a tax credit.
That's huge.
And it goes to say those that make more than 20 million in sales would be eligible for a tax credit on the first 20 million of cannabis that they sold annually.
Yeah, this is super common. That's super common if you know about like taxes, and like there's other taxes that are very similar in structure to something like that, where you get the tax credit on the first year. Yeah, so that's not unusual. So for all the tax preparers and everything out there, that's not hard for a hard concept for you to grasp when you begin servicing those cannabis businesses and entrepreneurs.
And an example is, so if you made $30 million, let's say you're a business that made $30 million,
Right.
20 million of that would be subject to the tax credit, right? And then the remaining,
right,
the remaining 10%, the remaining 10 million would be taxed at the full 25%.
right.
So those of you that are watching the podcast, this chart right here is breaking down what we just said.
Word.
So again, year 1, 10%, year 2, 15, year 3, 20, year 4, 25, and onward, right?
Right.
25%. So if you get, so once as long as you made less than 20 million, or let me rephrase that, your first 20 million in sales, we'll just say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first year, instead of paying 10, you're gonna pay half.
Right.
You're gonna pay 5.
Huge.
Instead of the second year, you're gonna pay, instead of paying 15, you're paying 7.5. Instead of the third year paying 20, you're gonna pay 10%. Instead of paying 25 for year 4 on out, you're gonna pay 12.5.
Right. And that's so, man, that, like I said, once again, that is huge, right? We're in cannabis accounting, right? And for us, we're literally looking to, kind of alleviate some of the pain, stop the bleeding, plug the hole, because you know that there's excessive tax rates that are imposed on cannabis businesses. So, I mean, that's literally the business that we're in. That's why it's important to us, because we're literally looking to, alleviate the pain that entrepreneurs are feeling when they realize how much is actually being taken out of their pockets and out of their businesses' pockets and accounts, where they aren't able to, like I said, reinvest or do other things that they need to do to improve operations and revenue and profit.
Right. And now they got some fine print in here. I want to go ahead and expose that so nobody misses it.
Get confident.
It says, for year 5 and after, the secretary sets a rate based on quantity sold or milligram of THC in the case of a product other than flower.
Oh, okay.
Rates are based on prevailing price of cannabis sold in the U.S. in the prior year. So still, one, the fact that 280E is going it's amazing, right? And that's, again, if this act passes in the future. 280E is going, and then instead of being taxed crazily, you're getting a huge credit where you're only paying 10% for excise tax.
And your tax planner should be very excited about this, because now it's a new conversation of what can we do now with this break, right? Like, you're literally saving dollars. Percentage turns into dollars. You're literally saving it. This could be reinvested. This could be put elsewhere. This could be, extra seed money for another venture. Who knows? Crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's our rather lengthy word on the streets today. We really wanted to share that because this is breaking news. It's extremely beneficial, impactful throughout the U.S. for Black and brown people and low income people, and especially adding Black and brown people in the green spaces, right?
Yep.
Huge.
Yep. Let's go ahead and protect the consumers, and on our side, let's protect the entrepreneurs, the business professionals, the business owners, and man, let's create some. Most important word to me in this act is opportunity. Let's create some opportunity. So
yeah, let's create that opportunity.
Come on, man. Make your voices heard. Do what you need to do. Participate in the movement going forward. And man, let's go. Let's get this passed. Let's go.
Now, if you want to do some more research on your own, it's called the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act.
Yep.
So you can Google it, pull it up, and go as go as far in detail as you want. So um, that concludes our word on the street.
Yep. And now, of course, you already know what we're about to get into. You know, what's that? What's that, Corey?
Put you on game.
Put you on game. It's time to put you on some game. What we focusing on today?
On some game. I said put you on game. Hey, no.
I hear some kind of 70s funk. that's what I hear. Here, put you on game. Put you on game.
What you gonna do? Put you on game.
Slap that bass. Boom, 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 boom.
Right, so we're gonna put you on game, and what we're gonna do today, we're gonna give you a history of how 280E came to be.
Yeah, sit down, boys and girls. Let's go. Let's go.
Sit back, cause I got a story to tell.
Yeah, but we're talking about the history of 280E, and no, we are not about to get into some dude, you know, with a cannabis made wig selling over, you know, another and staking claim somewhere in California. Okay, this is we talk about the history of 280E. You got to understand that something has to be done that pisses off the administration so much that they create legislation, laws, and barriers to stop that whatever happened from happening again, like to literally prevent it from going on in the future. So that's what the history of 280E that we're covering today is about.
Today, we're talking about Jeffrey Edmondson
Okay.
versus the tax court.
Okay. So what's this case about?
All right, I want to set the precedents for you real quick. Make it. I'm gonna break this down rather quickly because there's a lot of details in there, right?
Okay, break it down. What we got?
All right, so when we go over the history of 280E, we're really breaking down the court case of Jeffrey Edmondson versus the tax court.
Okay.
All right, so in 1974, he received $1.1 million worth of amphetamine pills, 100 pounds of marijuana, and 13 ounces of cocaine from his supplier.
Okay.
Right? And he got it on consignment. So he sold all of his products with the exceptions of some pills. And then the next year, he decided that since he's a drug dealer, he felt that it was his non-law abiding right to file his 1974 tax return. Now,
never get high on your own supply.
So what's interesting is in the 16th Amendment, it talks about you having to file your taxes when you have derived income, regardless of if it's legal or illegal. All they cared about is that green, right? That money. So they're saying you got to file your taxes regardless. So what he did was he calculated how much he spent, and it was about $105,300, right?
Okay.
And he wanted to write off the following. So he had a couple of thousand miles on his car. He had the cost of his scale to weigh his product, packaging cost, and a couple $100 in long distance business calls. And a portion of his rent for his home office. I'm guessing where he's breaking down the drugs and everything like that. So he puts all this on his 1974 tax return, and he's like, all right, and e-file. and so once he I'm sure they didn't have e-file back in 1974.
You get the point. Don't be
Right.
that person.
Right. You lick that stamp, slap that bad boy on that manila folder, and
Yeah.
see that thing in. And so the IRS saw his tax return and said, "You're out of your mind.
You got to be joking. Like what?
We're going to allow you to write off anything for your illegal profession." Can you like
It's
how,
always that one guy. It's
how,
always.
how cocky do you have to be? To be like, look, I know I sell drugs. I know I'm killing people, but I'm about my green. So forget all that. I want my money.
Bruh, you are already out. You made it out, or you ain't get caught yet, at least.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, like, what went on in his mind that said, "Yep, that's the move to make." In my head, my first thought is, "Hey, he took a hit on, it was a difference from what he expected to make and what he made." And my man said, "You know what? I can't get that back. But I got an idea. If I file some taxes, maybe I can get it back. Maybe they'll send me a little refund check. Maybe,
Right.
maybe I can get some of the costs back. Maybe I can get credited. Hey, Ziploc baggies are a lot, man. Look, man.
Right.
Hey, my man literally was like, "Look, I'm literally short about $500,000, and I can't let it go. Like I can't let that go. I need to recoup." Oh, and the plug died. How am I gonna get my money back? I can't get my money back.
So the thing is, so a lot of the stuff that he just listed are considered cost of goods sold, right? So it's the cost of doing business versus, and what I mean by that is the stuff that he needs to operate his business.
There you go.
And so they first they denied him, and then he took it up with the tax court.
Mhm.
And this man is a straight gangster, in my opinion. He took it up. He said, "No, I'm going to appeal this. We're going to take this to the tax court." And this man won. This man beat the IRS. He beat the tax court. Crazy.
Because that's just what it is, man. And y'all can go look it up for yourselves, but you just got to think about it, man. Hey, there was no law in place prior to this that said he didn't deserve, what he deserved, man. He has to be able to file this like any other business, because what sanction or rule or piece of legislation is in place to prevent me from doing otherwise? There is none.
And so the ultimately what he did was he played the game, right?
Straight up.
He found a loophole, used it to his advantage,
Yeah.
and humiliated the tax court and made a mockery of the tax code, right? So this man made a mockery of the tax code, made a mockery of the tax court,
Mm-hmm.
and the Treasury Department said, "Okay, bet. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. Going forward, we're gonna implement a tax code called IRC 280E, and what that says is, no matter if you are operating in operating a business with illegal drugs that are either Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, you cannot write off any expenses in relation to that business."
Trash.
And
That's trash.
keep in mind, this was back in 1974. We are in 2021, and it's always it's always that one person, right? It's always that one person that ruins it for everybody.
Always.
Takes advantage and ruins it.
Yeah, he definitely did. I mean, like, just in case you're wondering, right? Because if you start peeling it back and you start talking, because of course you think instantly when you think of legalization, you're thinking on the consumer side, but on
Right.
the business side, right? Like wherever there's demand, there's supply. Like on the business side, this dude really ruined it for all the entrepreneurs to come, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, he really ruined it for all the entrepreneurs
Right.
to come. Because now it's like, bro, I gotta get some boring job at this bank. I gotta get this like because at this point you've ruined all of my dreams. Imagine the people in 74 that had these genius business ideas, right? Or imagine the drug dealers in 74 that thought they had a way to kind of just because you got to think, this didn't come down on its own, right?
Right.
So if 280E comes out, that's when you can say, okay, that is early stages that contributes to the war on drugs, right? Like you have to you have to admit that. Yeah, you got to admit that because if you're thinking about it, you're like, okay, because with legislation is gonna come some kind of force. Like there's some kind of like to back that up, you have to enforce it, right?
Right.
So where does that enforcement comes from? I don't know. Law enforcement, right? It comes from right the judicial system, right? It's gonna come from everything. So it's not just about taxes, but we focus on the business. So on the business side, he ruined it like in the most selfish way, bro. All he had to do was take his ball and go home. You
Right.
won 4 games out of 5. He's like, nah, I can't let that fly. Hey, that's the type of dude to end up shot on the court because he just could he just
Yeah.
couldn't let it go. He just was like, yo, man, I know it's the fourth quarter and I'm up by 30, but you ain't just gonna cross me over like that.
Right.
Man, get off the court. Okay. Like he's that guy, man. But he ruined it, and that's the history.
Cost the economy, cost the entrepreneurs, connoisseurs trillions of dollars
Man.
because he wanted to and, and I'm kind of torn between because he wanted to give it to the man, he wanted to give it to Uncle Sam, and I bet you when he won, he was walking around like Conor McGregor, like
I can
like
see it. I can see it.
yeah, he like you can't tell me nothing. He's on that Kanye West, la 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 la, like like you can't tell me nothing. I went up against Uncle Sam and I won.
What an idiot. And that's somebody that look, I can tell you off the bat, he wasn't well connected. Can you tell me, okay, that's 74. What year did he die? 75? I'm telling you, when his constituents found out that this man won that, everybody, if you were in the street, you instantly would know. He just made it hot. This is in street terms, he made the block hot. The block is hot now. Like, no, they didn't have to wait for it to come down. They knew it was coming at that point. All because, and my only question is, and I don't know if I don't, if we can go into it, but how much did this man get credited for, man? Just like I can tell you, doesn't matter. The answer is whatever the answer is, it doesn't matter because he ruined the next 3 decades. He ruined the next 3 decades. What a loser! So selfish, super selfish. Yeah, you're. I'm sorry, man. We ain't about to trash him. I'm sure his family. Dude's probably dead now, but I'm sure his family is hey, I'm sure they're proud of him. I'm sure it's a historic moment. I'm sure y'all celebrate this, or it's up on some kind of mantle, like him walking away in his suit, like Corey said, I'm sure y'all celebrate this moment. But
Right.
your ancestor, your grandpa, great grandpa, whatever, ruined the game, man. He made the block hot. But That's just what it is. That created 280E. This is literally what legislation is being proposed now to fight and to eliminate. This is going to be a huge, huge deal for entrepreneurs and most importantly, entrepreneurs, right? It's going to be huge. It's a historic day. So please remember July 14th of 2021 when it was introduced, just as much as you have to remember the day where it's fully legalized. Everybody's going to remember that day, but the historians will go back to remember July 14th of 2021 when we all figured out the foundational structure of this legislation that's going to change life, provide programs, and just be of assistance to life for cannabis entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, and consumers. That's what's up.
So that's put you on game for today.
Put you on
We go ahead and make that move, man. You know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for that plug talk.
Hey.
Plug talk.
Plug talk. All right, man. So you already know how we do during plug talk. We got to show a little bit of love. I normally have a couple, but today I wanted to focus on one that was really big. So we talked about in our last couple segments just about the effects of 280E, the reason we're trying to overcome that, the reason legislation to eliminate 280E in general is so important. Because we have, on the retail side of cannabis entrepreneurship, we have some great businesses in legal states that are already operating that are subject to federal taxes differently, even though on the state level, they're actually, legalized and everything, right? So the one that we're bringing up today in Plug Talk is the House of the Perk. House of the Perk, all right, is actually, this is actually out there in Arizona. And I want to go ahead and pull up all of their stuff. They got houseoftheperk.one.boomer.co. They're out in Arizona. Man, they do everything from free delivery. They got a lot of stuff going on. If you want to pull up houseoftheperk1.boomer.co. Check them out, man. They already, I hear that they really, really booming when it comes to their pre-rolls. They have tons of different products. But one of the biggest issues, of course, is not being able for the rest of us to be able to appreciate House of the Perk because they can't cross state lines with it, right? So that's kind of different when you think about e-commerce and everything like that. But when I'm going through here today, they got a buy one get one free sale that's going on their best edibles. So that's a huge one right there. They got a super BOGO sale that's going on. BOGO on all pre-rolls, $13 and up. Man, come on, man. They definitely got a lot of stuff going on. I like the fact that they are capitalizing on being legal where they are, at least, because you got to make a lot of money, realizing that them taxes are going to be high. Man, but this is what it is, man. I like the fact that they definitely put you on game in their own way as well. They have a pretty good website. The GUI's good. Yep, got it plugged up right there. Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and take a look at their website.
Yeah, okay, right. Let's do it, man. So yeah, man, they're what we looking at? They looks pretty official.
Like some oregano.
Something like it. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Oh, they got delivery.
That's what I was talking about. Think about it.
Delivery. Orders over 150.
Yeah. Yeah, straight up there. So you in Arizona, you go ahead and check them out. House of the Perk. As soon as we're open, I'm sure we're gonna see all kind of different businesses that are similar to this one. I just like the way that you can tell they connect with their their target audience of their customers,
Right.
Customer base. They provide different carts. If you do carts, they do provide those. That's dope. They got Kingpin Gelato on deck. That's what's up. Really dope. Really dope. So yeah, as you can see here, and Kingpin is well known. So let you know they, no fugazi stuff coming from them, man. They definitely have the quality,
Bro, that's what's up. They cater. They
Come on.
cater. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah,
you got their events, birthdays, and weddings.
Yeah, we're in Texas. So we haven't had any legally catered birthday bashes advertised like that. For $35 you can go ahead and do the birthday bash. Yep. Birthday bash package. It's a 4-ounce service, 8 ounces, your choice of flower. The exotics are included, by the way. 2 ounces extra. What else they got? 2 ounces will be used for pre-roll, right? So they let you know as soon as they drop it off. They get 2 ounces of the 8 are pre-rolls. A total of 56 joints. Come on, man. We talking about a full party, So if your birthday in August, hey, you definitely going up. But even after that, you gotta support them. House of the Perk. Man, look,
birthday cake infused with 400 milligrams of THC or cupcakes.
That's what I would call a super edible. All right, that is something I will call death. You do not play with that. Okay? You do not play them type of games. But hey, you get you a little slice. Okay, you feeling nice. That's just what it is, man. Yeah. So that was a really big one. But we had to shine some light once again on House of the Perk. They are the business, Black owned, I believe, by the way. Okay.
Oh, hey, black faces,
and
brown faces.
Yep.
Green spaces.
You already know. So yeah, man, had to shop them out. They're doing big things. Hey man, more business and more power to you. Hope this legislation gets passed so that you guys can withhold a little bit more of that, man, and make this website and your business even more awesome. We appreciate you guys, but that's House of Perk as far as the website. If you're in Arizona, of course, houseoftheperk1.boomer.co. And I'm gonna repeat that because I stumbled. houseoftheperk1.boomer.co. Check them out if you're in the area. Go, you can find that brick and mortar possibly or whatever you do. But hey, do what you do, man. This has been another edition of Plug Talk.
Plug Talk. Hey.
Yeah, and that's just what it is, man. Corey, so you'll send them off, man. Go send them off just the right way.
Yeah, man. We appreciate everybody's time today.
Most definitely.
We had a great discussion. We hope everybody else enjoyed our discussion. Again, if you have any thoughts of your own, feel free to put it down in the comments. Let us know. Make sure you like, subscribe, and make sure you join in. Share this news with your friends, your family, colleagues, everything. It's amazing that this conversation now is making it to the big leagues.
Yeah, the Senate.
Now we up in the big leagues. We there, man. We there. So definitely, again, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you support the movement. Hashtag Harvest AF. What's the AF stand for?
And finally, we talking about some legislation.
Hey. Again, hashtag, and finally, we talking about some legislation. Hashtag Cannabruhz. And we out.
We out.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Here to give you knowledge that you didn't know. Put you on some game, now you got a buzz. You are now listening to Cannabruhz.